Okay, so this gets back to common but differentiated responsibilities. And I was at the University of Washington. Mary Robinson was emphasizing the notion of common but differentiated responsibilities in the climate justice arena and in the area of human rights laws that might impact this issue. In terms of Walmart Nation and common but differentiated responsibilities is those who have the gift of communicating ideas simply and who care about those people and who share knowledge without judging them, without feeling they're at the low end of the socioeconomic spectrum, or whatever has gone on in the development of the new forms of poverty that exist in the United States and the new ways of consuming to deal with sort of lower middle class and middle class stresses needs to be addressed. If you aren't compassionate, you don't care about your target audience, then you're not going to be very good at reaching them. And for most people, climate change is about food, getting enough to eat. It's about changes in the economy. I call it, in my work, I call it climate's change. So there's an S on climate because right now we see there are changes in the geopolitical climate as new powers emerge and new competitions are there. There are changes in the political climate. There are changes in the social climate, in the educational climate around funding. And then there are changes in how we relate to one another. And finally, there's the culmination of all that, which is climate change. There's more desperation in the economic environment. Companies are more and more concerned about how they're going to maintain revenue streams. So at the same time that all this is happening, advertising is going to get more and more sophisticated. And so the ability now, I think, let's cut out the whole advertising thing. Let's go back to common and differentiated responsibilities in this context. If you have the I'll go back to my NGO. If you have the psychological and social capacity to help other people, that's a common responsibility. If you have psychological and social capacity and material resources, then that's a differentiated responsibility now to start sharing material resources without looking for a return on investment. Now changes are happening so quickly that if we don't share responsibly, we don't know, because right now things are so unpredictable, we don't know whether we place our bets we're going to get a return. So the question is whether when we share resources we feel they're going to a good place and the attempt will be made responsibly to do something positive. So in terms of common and differentiated responsibility, I think people with material resources, people with psychological and social capacity need to help others build those strengths. And those who have more economic strength and who have the compassion in order to not care whether they keep their money or not, but make sure that those resources are used responsibly, that'll be hugely important. And I think common but differentiated responsibility really operates on a very personal level in terms of how we're coping with the shock of seeing the inaction over the past 20 years. The climate science research has been out for a long time. So have photographs of suffering all over the world, since television, the impact of photography. There have been all kinds of media innovations that have made us more and more aware of changes, but less and less capable of dealing with them. So common but differentiated responsibility, in a sense, means using your compassion to share the best you have with the resources that you have available. And I think if more people are more generous at this time, it'll be very, very beneficial.